This is True Crime Tragedies. Listener discretion is advised. Pussies.
Hey everybody, welcome back to True Crime Tragedies. I'm Chris, and with me is JB. How you going, mate?
Not too bad, mate. How you going?
Yeah, good. Tough day of work today. It was a bit of a long one. We're not used to these warmer days, so a bit knackered.
I know. You read my mind, and we've been in sync. We're always in sync. But it's funny, we were painting yesterday. It was like 24 degrees. It was a beautiful day. And in the morning, we're like, oh, man. Well, actually, it was more me, and I won't throw you under the bus. Like, I could do this for a living. This is so creamy. This is so easy. And then about 6 hours later, we're like, fuck this. Never want to do this again. Oh, man, it sucks. It was nice for the first hour and a half. I was like, man, this sucks. And but we got it done, and it's looking good. So not complain from the client for a change.
For a change, yeah.
Yeah. I actually got a bit angry with you on site, didn't I?
Did you? I didn't notice. Your level of angry is hard to read though, because you're a very calm and cool person normally. So if you were, I didn't pick it up.
Well, I get home and I stick needles in the voodoo dolls.
That's okay.
You've had a few needles in yours. But we were listening to the radio and a classic song came on. It was Horses by Daryl Braithwaite. And I was like, oh, what a tune. This is a classic. And then you go, who's this? And I was like, what? What do you mean? Who's this? An Australian classic. It's a banger, and I just feel like it should be part of the application to get into this country. If you're going to be coming into the country and working here, you should know Horses by Daryl Braithwaite. And I expect you to learn all the words, and I want to hear you singing it on the podcast next week.
All right, karaoke podcast coming up next week. You can do
Mate,
the
I was
split ends.
outraged. And so are the listeners. The majority of our listeners are Aussies, and they'll be like, what do you mean he doesn't know Horses by Daryl Braithwaite?
Oh, is this that fucking horse song I think I referred to it as?
Oh, mate. But anyway, we're here. We're back in the studio, and we're ready to talk about, well, we're not talking about murder today. A bit of a crazy story. Some might call it murder. I'm not sure. I'm on the fence with it. And once we get into it, it would be interesting to see people's thoughts or hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, this one's got it's so divided for everybody. Everyone's got so many different opinions, and I can see value in each of those opinions.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm really torn.
Yeah.
All right, well, but before we get into that, let's get into our crazy story or idiot of the week. What do you got for us today?
This week, I've got a story about Brandon Hatfield of Florida, or as my grandma likes to call it, because she's a bit of a rap fan, Flow Rider.
Idiot. Did you say his name was Hatfield?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the guy at Metallica? James?
Yeah, James. Yeah.
And I was just doing a la, 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 la. And you were talking about grandma. Like, what the hell?
So Brandon, he broke into this park in Florida, and he was climbing over the barriers, moving into restricted areas all during the night time, so it was quite dark. He was loving it. He had the whole park to himself, and he'd been there for about 4 hours at this stage. At some point, he even climbed over a barbed wire fence and has made his way deeper inside the park, past multiple enclosures before seeing this big, large pool that he liked the look of. So he climbed up, jumped into this big, large pool, and he's seen on the CCTV footage climbing on top of this little hut next to the pool, jumping in, doing bombs. He's got the whole place to himself. He's having the time of his life. Yeah. And he thinks, I can do a better bomb than that. So he ends up climbing up a tree and bombs back into the water, like an even bigger bomb as well. So I know we're only just starting into the story, but where do you think we're going with this? What do you think is going to happen to our old mate, Brandon, who just did a big bomb into the pool?
You're talking about being at a park. He's climbing barbed wire fences all of a sudden. I'm like, what type of park has barbed wire fences, enclosures? As soon as you said enclosure, I'm thinking, okay, is it a zoo or something similar? And he's about to get eaten by a fucking alligator or something. That's where I'm going.
Yes. Well,
I nailed it?
Yeah, it was a crocodile enclosure, and it actually held 3 large crocodiles, each measuring over 12 feet long.
Oh, Jesus.
After old Brandon did his second big bomb out of the tree, doing a big oos into the water, one of the crocodiles grabs Brandon by his left leg, drags him away from the edge of the bank, starts to pull him into a death roll. Thankfully for Brandon, I think these crocs are pretty well fed, and he's able to break away and climb back onto the bank and over the fence again. Not long later, the same evening, a 911 call was made by an elderly man down the street because Brandon was crawling through his front yard just in his underwear, covered in blood.
Oh, shit.
So the workers at the crocodile park, they discovered Brandon's shoes floating in the enclosure the next morning when they walked in. So it didn't take much for them to piece everything together. Brandon, he'd received a really large wound on his left leg and his foot. And after he was released from hospital, he was transported to the county jail where he was charged with car theft, drug possession, no shit, and criminal mischief. And he received 2 years probation.
Oh, man. Have you ever climbed into an enclosure yourself? Not an animal enclosure, or have you ever climbed a fence to get into somewhere you shouldn't be?
Yeah, as a kid, like climbing into like a section of the school that you weren't supposed to on school holidays. But I remember a long time ago, myself and my wife were at the zoo, and there was this fucking freako that just kept following us around and chatting to us, and we're just trying to like, oh, fuck off, you weirdo, and just like trying to walk off. Later the same night on the news, we saw that he'd climbed the enclosure into the lion section. Oh, this is at the Melbourne Zoo. Yeah, we're like, this is the fuck we were just chatting to earlier.
Did he get eaten?
No, he didn't get eaten, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame.
So, yeah.
The only time I've ever climbed a fence to get into somewhere, I had a bit of a Harold and Kumar go to White Castle adventure with our mate Zach, and we'd been at the pub, and we really wanted Hungry Jacks. We get there and the door's locked, but we could see heaps of people inside. We figured that they must have locked up for the night, but they were still left the customers in there that were still eating. So we've decided to scale the fence to get into the children's like play area, figuring that we could get to that door in there would be open. So we're giving I give him a boost and he sort of get to the top, so he lifts me up over. It was a fair climb. We jumped down thinking we're just champions high-fiving each other. That door's locked. And we're like, fuck, we're knocking on the glass and we're talking to and the other customers are getting up. They're trying to let us in and they can't open the door. They can't figure out how to unlock it. We had to scale out. And we ended up at Macca's. That's the end of the story. But
you bloody idiots.
We were smashed as well. Lucky I didn't hurt myself.
I thought that story was going to end in you just falling asleep in the ball pit.
It might have happened. I just don't remember.
Well, speaking of crazy drug stories, what do we have today?
Well, yes. Well, I mentioned last episode that we were getting into a documentary called There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. And I didn't play the preview. I'm not going to play it again because I didn't really want to spoil it for the listeners, especially the people that have never heard of this case, because it's a bit of an odd one. It was released in 2011. The incident was 2009, so it's pretty quick that they made this documentary after the incident. And you can find it on YouTube if you want to watch it. If you don't have, I think it was HBO Max. I went to my Prime subscription and you have to pay extra for that. So I thought, oh, fuck this, and Googled it and found it on YouTube. So
good old YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, good old YouTube. Bit of a dodgy copy on there, but it did the job. So I did say I wasn't going to spoil it with the preview, but I'm going to spoil it for you straight away because I have to. In order for this to make sense to the listeners, I have to spoil it straight away. And the documentary spoils it straight away anyway, to be fair. So on Sunday, July 26, 2009, a woman named Diane Shuler drove the wrong way on the Taconic Parkway for almost 2 miles, crashing and killing 8 people. Herself, her daughter, 3 nieces, and all 3 people in the oncoming vehicle. At the start of the documentary, we see a news conference, and it's with Diane's husband, Daniel. He's talking to the media, and he's telling them how much of an amazing wife and mother she was.
She was a perfect wife, outstanding mother, hard worker, reliable person, trustworthy. I would marry again tomorrow, but she's awesome. She's the best.
whilst this is happening, we're seeing CCTV footage of Diane pulling into a service station in her vehicle. The footage continues with her walking inside, talking to the clerk briefly, and walking out. There doesn't appear to be much to it. And it's this point we hear from Jay Shuler. So Jay is Diane's sister-in-law. She's obsessed with this CCTV footage. And Jay's saying that Diane appears to be completely normal in it, and no one could foresee what's about to happen. And she thinks there's just so much more to the story than what people know.
I've watched this numerous times, over and over again, and she was fine, and that's what's frustrating. I'm very big into mystery shows. I live for watching those, and even before this, that's all I would watch. And it's just ironic to me that I feel like I'm on one of them. I feel like I'm walking around and there's going to be this story is going to come out. I feel like someone's going to say, 10 years later, it proves what happened. There's so much more to the story.
So they've spoiled it straight away, and this documentary is all over the shop. So I'm going to explain the sequence of events from that morning to when the accident happened. It just makes it a bit more simple to talk about on a podcast. Otherwise, it's just really confusing.
It jumps much. It was so hard to follow.
Yeah, it is. It makes sense for us to go through the timeline for the listeners. So here it goes. So at 9:30 a.m., Diane and her husband leave the Hunter Lake campground. So she departs and she's heading home to Long Island. Witnesses at the campground later said she appeared to be normal and sober. I mean, it's 9:30 in the morning. You'd hope she'd be sober, yeah.
Awesome. Also, how amazing does this campground look?
Yeah.
It looks so good.
It's what you'd picture a campground to look like to spend time with your family. This is it, like fishing and just having a great time.
That's right. Yeah, it's right on the water. You can do all these different activities. It's definitely the high-end camping, I reckon.
Yeah, glamping. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
So Diane was driving a red Ford Windstar minivan. Never heard of it. And Diane is 36 years old, and she's got with her son Brian, he's 5, her daughter Erin, she's 2, and she has her 3 nieces, Emma Hance, she's 8, Alison Hance, 7, and Katie Hanson, she's 5. Her husband, Daniel Shuler, left separately in a pickup truck with the family dog. And how he got that sweet deal, I have no idea. No, it's cool. I'll drive with 5 kids under 8 and you take the dog. That's fair.
Yeah. That sums up this fucking guy right from the start, to be honest.
It really does.
Old fucking Doolittle Danny over here. Leaves Dinah do everything.
I mean, yeah, your own children's hard enough, but having your children mixed with your nieces and I can hear it now. Yeah. So at 9:56, so she's only been on the road for 26 minutes or so. She's already stopping at Macca's. Probably the kids would have been, we know we're hungry.
Because the drive home is only 45 minutes or something like that.
Well, something like that. So it's this appears to be odd because she's only been on the road 26 minutes. She's already stopped at McDonald's. So the employees there later said she appeared normal. She's coherent. She's not intoxicated. And I keep mentioning intoxicated because it becomes relevant later. And this is one of the last confirmed times she appeared to be fine. And apart from purchasing food for the kids, she purchases an orange juice, which I think is important. I'll go into that later. At 10:56 a.m., so this is like an hour later or so, she rocks up at a Sunoco gas station. And surveillance shows her entering the store. I mentioned that earlier. And they report that she had asked for pain medication, but they didn't have what she wanted. It looked like she was pointing to her head or something like that. You couldn't quite tell from the video. That's just what the clerk had mentioned. So after leaving the gas station, it's about 11 a.m., she's driving eastbound and her behavior slightly changes. So witnesses later can report seeing her tailgating. She's honking. She's flashing her headlights. She's swerving between lanes. She's driving aggressively. Something appears to have changed after that last stop. At roughly 11:30 a.m., Diane speaks with family members. She's saying that the traffic is heavy and they are delayed, but reports noted roads were not especially congested. But she also appears to be normal at this stage as well. So apart from all the lane changes and the swerving and the speeding, she's talking normally. Approximately 15 minutes to half an hour later, several witnesses later said that they saw Diane stopped at the side of the road. She's bent over and she's vomiting near the vehicle. So not we're not really sure why she had stopped, or maybe because she was feeling sick. We're not sure if she's in pain, but yeah, they said she had appeared to be vomiting on the side of the road. Approximately 12:30, one of her nieces gets her phone and she calls her dad, Warren, and she says to him, "There's something wrong with Aunt Diane." 5 minutes later, Warren's on the phone to Diane and he tells her to stop driving and wait so he can come get the children. She agrees, or at least acknowledges him, but she doesn't end up staying where she is. 10 minutes later, family members are trying to call her back and reportedly they cannot reach her on the phone. It's either it's off or she's just not answering. 1 o'clock. Diane enters an exit ramp on the Tectonic State Parkway going the wrong direction. Multiple motorists call 911 to report a red minivan traveling southbound in a northbound lane. So somewhere in this section here, she is driving at high speed. And when I say high speed, they're estimating between 70 and 85 miles an hour. So I think that's roughly up to 130 odd Ks an hour, which is pretty fast. Going the opposite direction, imagine the vehicle's traveling at least 60 miles per hour towards her. It must have felt like she was just going like a bat out of hell.
Oh,
so while
flying past each other.
Yeah, she'd be flying down the road, going the wrong way, and other cars are swerving out of the way to avoid her. She's just going straight line.
Yeah, she's going pin straight. They reference hers.
Yeah, that's right. And she continues like this for nearly 2 miles. At approximately 1:33 p.m., Diane's minivan crashes head-on with a Chevy Trailblazer occupied by 3 males: Guy Bastardi, 49 years old, Michael Bastardi, 81 years old, and Daniel Longo, 74 years old. A third vehicle was also struck in this chain reaction, but those 3 occupants survived without injuries. Unfortunately, there was multiple fatalities at the scene. Those fatalities consisted of Diane, her little daughter Erin, her nieces Emma, Allison, and Katie. She later died at the hospital. And Guy, Michael, and Daniel also passed away at the scene. There was one sole survivor in the crash, and that was Brian, her 5-year-old son, but he survived with severe injuries. Okay, so that's the complete picture.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's important to hear the timeline. But that's pretty much in a nutshell. She left at 9:30 in the morning, and the crash occurred at 1:33 p.m. So 4 hours later. Yep. On what you said was a drive that should have only taken her approximately 45 minutes to get home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, that's the complete picture, and we can officially get into the documentary now, which really concentrates on the aftermath of the incident and the family's grief and denial. We meet Diane's husband, Daniel, her sister-in-law, Jay, and brother-in-law talking about how they found out about the accident.
When I first got the phone call, I didn't know what happened. I just went upstate to the hospital, and then I found out there was a car accident.
And he gets a phone call, and he got all upset on the phone, and he handed me the phone. And at that point, it was Brian died, and everybody else was alive.
And then I went to Papa's house, and I told them that Brian was dead. And then I got the phone call that it wasn't, that Brian survived. And then Jimmy said, it's bad, Jay. Everyone's gone.
And I don't remember much of that day, just taking care of Brian, that's what I remember.
Pretty rough here. They heard that Brian was the only one that was killed in the crash, and then that misinformation, then finally getting the actual information that it was everyone but Brian. Can you imagine getting that news on the phone?
Oh, it'd be horrendous. Just your whole world would stop. Like you wouldn't be able to think.
No, you couldn't fathom it, that's for sure. And we're now getting footage of the funeral, and it's really horrible, isn't it? There's caskets everywhere. It was just this. You don't see much of it, but we hear the voice of Warren, and Warren is the father of the 3 little girls that died in the accident. He is the brother of Diane, and it's a heartbreaking scene and watching all the caskets. And I found it interesting when Warren's talking, he didn't appear to be angry with Diane at this stage. I mean, you'd understand him having some ill feelings towards her, being that she caused this accident and he lost his 3 little girls. But I mean, it's probably inappropriate from talking shit about her at the funeral. But considering what happened, that I just it'd be so hard to talk at the funeral about it.
Yeah, for sure.
My sister was a phenomenal mother, aunt, and friend, and all of us are grateful for the love and care that she showered upon our entire family, especially all of our children. What we ask for all of you going forward is that you keep my girls, my sister, and my niece, and all of us in your daily prayers. There's a miracle child in all of this. Our dear nephew Brian, who's getting better and stronger by the day, and he will be loved by more people than he will ever understand. Love your children. Cherish your children. Kiss your children. And don't ever forget.
You can hear during Warren's "You Googly" in the church that everyone is just absolutely wailing.
Do you say "you googly"?
Yeah, it's from Zoolander.
Oh, God. We're doing such a serious podcast, and then you just pull out Zoolander reference right in the middle of it.
Can we get back to it, JB? So during his "You Googly," you can hear everyone wailing in the church. Oh, it's just heart-wrenching. Just no one can just, hold it back. They're just, oh, God. You feel so bad for them. What a horrendous day for everybody.
I know. And I mentioned there before, he didn't seem to be angry towards Diane. I think they didn't really know the full picture of exactly what had happened. And it's 5 days later and the state police have a press conference.
An autopsy was performed by the Westchester County Medical Examiner's Office on the body of Diane Shuler, the operator of the 2003 Ford van who was responsible for this crash. The toxicology from that autopsy shows that Diane Shuler had a blood alcohol content of 0.19%. Toxicology also reveals that Diane Shuler had a high level of THC. THC is the active ingredient contained in marijuana.
The director of toxicology, Betsy Spratt, is also in attendance, and she is asked how much alcohol Diane would have consumed. And she estimates that Diane had approximately 10 drinks in her system at the time. And the blood alcohol content in the States, illegal for driving, is 0.08, whereas in Australia it's 0.05. So her blood alcohol content at the time of her death was 0.19, which is almost 4 times our legal limit, which is she must have been smashed.
Yeah, should have been
at
blind.
The time. Yeah. And we'll go into this more, but she had also had THC in her system as well. So she had been smoking doobies in the lead up to the accident as well. They're not sure if she had them the night before or even that morning or even while she was driving, but they're not 100% sure. But she had that in her system too.
Well, actually, they do mention a little bit later on, the experts say her THC levels were so high that she must have either smoked weed or had edibles 15 to 60 minutes prior to the accident happening.
Yeah, I must have missed that. So at some stage from leaving the campground when she appeared to be normal and sober at 9:30 a.m., she's managed to drink enough alcohol for her reading to be 0.19 and also must have smoked or had edibles while she was driving as well. So, and that's the thing. People don't understand why.
Yeah, I would have liked to see the CCTV footage from McDonald's. Because I read one report that while the kids were in the playground, she was walking to her car and spending a bit of time in her car and then coming back.
Okay.
So that's the only time I could imagine her, if she was smoking a joint, doing it then. I don't see her smoking in front of the kids while she's driving.
Surely not.
And also with the orange juice, could she have done vodka orange juice mix?
That's what I was thinking.
She got it as a mixer? Yeah.
I was thinking, the screwdriver, I think they call it. That was my initial thought. I mean, drinking straight vodka, the theory is that she potentially could have been an alcoholic, but people didn't know it. And I doubt, she might have just been swigging out of a bottle she had in the car or, like you said, put the vodka in with the orange juice to make it look like she was just drinking McDonald's orange juice. So that's potentially what she did, but we'll never really know. We now hear from Dominic Barbara. He is the Shuler attorney, and he gets out in front of the media to say that Diane was not an alcoholic, and he was there with her husband, Daniel, and I'm not sure if he's in denial or he just doesn't believe that the testing was done properly, but he emphatically is saying that she was not an alcoholic and she did not drink.
She was not an alcoholic. She rarely had a drink. She got in the van with the children, and what should have taken a 35-minute drive took almost 4 hours.
Listen to this. I go to bed every night knowing my heart is clear. She did not drink. She's not an alcoholic. Listen to all that. She is not an alcoholic, and my heart is rested every night when I go to bed. Something medically had to have happened.
And a lot of the alcoholics, they hide it really well, though. Like, I know someone, I was about to say who they were in relation to me, but I won't. And they hide it extremely well, and they're a severe alcoholic. I remember at one event, she went into the bathroom, and she was totally fine. She was in there for quite some time, maybe about 30, 45 minutes, then walked out, and she was slurring, stumbling. I'm like, what the hell is going on in there? So we walked in there, and we had a look at the toilet. Nothing in there, obviously, like the little toilet room, except for the toilet and the little basin for the, or little basket for the toilet rolls. So we lifted up the lid on the toilet cistern, and there's a bottle of vodka in a plastic bag inside the toilet cistern.
Oh, so the lengths that people will go to hide it.
Exactly,
just
yeah.
Insane.
That's right, yeah. So she was a functioning alcoholic, and I'm not too sure if she still is or not, but it just should hide it all over the place. And majority of the time, you wouldn't even know that she was drunk or drinking.
Yeah, and that's what Diane could have been. But the family is denying it, and they're clearly grieving. But they're also trying to figure out how, like we mentioned earlier, what should have been like a 45-minute drive took 4 hours for Diane from the time of leaving campsite to the accident. How the hell did she get to where she was? So a lot doesn't make sense. So the public now has really turned on Diane since this toxicology results have come in, and Jay is explaining how everyone on the internet is just turned on the family, and for some reason she's reading YouTube comments on a website.
Don't do that.
I know. And there's a website with Diane on it, and it says, I think it was a website saying that people that you will see in hell, and there's a picture of Diane there. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, Jay, what are you doing to yourself?
I know. It reminded me of Andy Bernard on The Office when he's obsessed with all the YouTube comments.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God.
I think some of the comments that she's reading on the YouTube, one was she should be dug up and her body be re-examined so that fucking fat-ass co-conspirator husband can shut the fuck up and admit that him and his wife are alcos and potheads. So people are not holding back.
No. Keyboard warriors are just everywhere in this world. Say that shit to their face, I bet you wouldn't. So it's 6 months after the accident, and the filmmakers approach... It says filmmakers approach the shoeless instead of the Shulers.
The shoeless. Just a couple of homeless people on the street. What do you reckon about the Diane case?
So it's 6 months after the accident, the filmmakers approach the Shulers about making an investigative documentary on the incident. And they're happy to... What did I say?
Sounds like you've been drinking.
And I'll start again. I can't say investigative.
Investigative?
Fuck. Investigative? Investigate. Okay. It's 6 months after the accident. The filmmakers approached the Shulers about making a documentary on the incident. And they're going to try and help the family understand what happened to Diane on that fateful day. And they asked Daniel what they hope to achieve.
I want to know what happened to my wife. I want an autopsy done, a correct autopsy done. And I want to know if she had a stroke or not. Because what they're saying is not true. Or I wouldn't be doing this. I'm a quiet person and a private person, but I just want to find out what happened. So when my son gets older, he knows what happened to his mom. I'm going to go until the end, until I find out what really happened, the truth. Whether it's good or bad, that'll be fine with me. But I know something medically happened to my wife.
Daniel and Jay believe something medically must have happened to Diane. and they just don't accept the findings of the toxicologist. I'm not sure if it is denial or they just honestly believe that the police and the investigation just wasn't done properly.
Well, I think they're in denial, and then that's a scapegoat for them. That's an easy blame.
It is. I just think that the accident was just so horrendous, and they don't want to have their family name out there as Diane was this alcoholic, and because of that, she caused like 9 deaths. So I think that's the reason, but so everyone grieves differently. So it's at this stage of the documentary we start hearing a little bit more about Diane's upbringing. They do a hell of a lot about her upbringing here, and we're not going to talk about it too much because I don't feel it adds a lot of value. But she was born in 1973, and she's one of 4 kids. She's the only female in the family, because when Diane was 9, her mother left. They sort of don't really understand the reason. I think one of their friends mentions that her mum left with the neighbour, but they don't really go into it that much. So they believe that her mother leaving at a young age had a profound impact on Diane, and she was always there for her kids in the way that her mother wasn't there for her. They're just trying to paint a picture of Diane being this perfect mum and wife because of her upbringing wasn't like that. We're now back at the press conference with Daniel, and one of the reporters asked him a question about what they were doing that day.
I woke up at 6 o'clock, went down to my boat to clean it out, do what I got to do. Came back about 6:45, 7 o'clock. I woke her up saying we had to start cleaning the camper so we can start getting home before traffic. She woke up, started packing the bags slowly, started waking the kids up slowly, started getting the kids dressed. We unloaded the camper, all the bags, outside the camper, and I walk them to the car and we load them up. We had a cup of coffee, 2 cups of coffee, and then we left.
Do you remember your last words?
Yeah, I kissed everyone goodbye, and my wife.
Thank you.
Was that the part where he's like, yeah, we had a cup of coffee. Actually, we had 2 cups of coffee. What at it?
Glad you're doing the accent because I ain't touching it. So, by all accounts, it was just a normal morning for Daniel, and nothing was out of the ordinary. We see some photos of the kids on the camping trip, and everything looks normal. We then hear from Ann Scott. She's the owner of Hunter Lake Campground where Daniel and Diane were staying. She was one of the last people that spoke with Diane before she left. The documentary now starts going through the timeline that I explained earlier and show a bit of a map of the direction that Diane took. At 9:56, Diane makes her first stop at McDonald's, like we mentioned. Investigators have CCTV footage of the interaction between Diane and the employees. We don't get to see that on the documentary for some reason, and everything seems normal. Yeah, it was disappointing. Yeah, because they've got the other CCTV footage, but I don't know why we don't see the Macca's one. She doesn't appear to be intoxicated or anything at this stage. The kids are playing in the playground. They're happy. Diane's next stop was at 10:46 at the Liberty gas station. Here is when we see the CCTV footage of Diane. She was in there very briefly, and there doesn't appear to be any signs of intoxication in there either. We're back talking to the family now, and we see a video of the only survivor of the accident, Brian. He appears to be happy and normal despite sustaining a serious head injury in the crash, and as a result, he suffers from a nerve issue which affects movement in his right eye, and he has had numerous surgeries for it, and he has to do daily eye exercises, poor kid.
Yeah, he's quite cute in this. He's doing the little eye exercises, but they're games on a laptop. Yeah, yep. And they're like, oh, you're so good at this, bro. Really encouraging. It was so good.
Yeah, and Jay's there, and she's been helping take care of Brian 3 to 4 days a week and during the weekend. So she's really helping Daniel with, I want to say burden, but since Diane's death and his other daughter, it's just him and Brian. And I think parenting for him is just a bit too hard. And I don't know if it was always like that.
Adulting is a bit hard for Danny.
Yeah. I don't know if he'd always taken a back seat on parenting. I think they did mention at one time during the documentary that I don't think he ever really wanted to be a father. So now it's all on him. And Jay, thank God for her, because she really takes that parenting role and helps Brian.
Yeah, well, I think even Danny's mum made a comment that Danny was Diane's eldest child. He was just useless. Like, she had to do everything for him.
I do mention that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cut. Shut up. Jay shows the filmmakers a picture that she has of all the children that were killed in the car accident that was taken at the campsite. And she explains that the picture is really hard to look at. And I'm thinking, why would you have that photo on your fridge as a constant reminder? I understand you want to have photos of your nieces or whatever, but one that was taken probably the day before they all died, and just every time you go to the fridge, you have that reminder. I just don't think I could cope with that.
Yeah, I know. She's obviously grieving a lot better than some are. So she's able to look at them for the happy times in their life instead of what happened to them.
Yeah. And this is only 6 months after the incident as well. This documentary started. So it's still pretty raw.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it seems like she is taking it a little bit better than Daniel at this stage. We're now showing photos of all the kids that were killed in the car accident, and it's heartbreaking. And Jay is explaining the grief of Jackie and Warren losing their 3 little girls in the accident.
I mean, Warren and Jackie, I think their grief is just so bad.
To Jackie, the kids were a job. That's what she did. Listening to her schedule of soccer, dance, this, that, ×3, running all around, till we got to nothing.
I can't imagine anyone in her family thinks Diane was drunk. As a parent, like, you have the tiny bit of doubt. You're human. I would have a tiny bit of doubt, human. But when Jackie reflects back, I don't want to speak for them, but her and Diane were like best friends. But are they choosing to speak out about it? No.
The filmmakers had asked all 4 families who lost loved ones to participate in the documentary, and Jackie and Warren declined to be interviewed for the film. And I don't blame them.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
They lost 3 little girls, and it's still very new and raw, and their world's upside down. So yeah, don't blame them at all for that. It's at this time we start hearing from the Bastardi and Longo family. They were the 3 men that were killed in the vehicle that was struck by Diane. Roseanne and Margaret are Guy Bastardi's sisters, and Roseanne recalls the last conversation she had with her brother.
That morning, I remember my brother's voice on that phone saying to me, I said, okay, we're going to just have spaghetti and meatballs. I had the table set, and I remember him saying, okay, it's all right, I'll be there. It's sort of, there's no closure at that point because you don't get to say goodbye,
I mean, like, I know that he knows we all love them. We love my brother, we love him, and they know that. But we didn't get to tell them. We didn't get to have that closure with them, and that bothers me. And then it also, like I said, it bothered me because they never made it home. They should have made it home that day, and they didn't.
Daniel Longo's brother Joseph explains that Daniel was healthy and he had just retired and he was just starting to enjoy himself. He said despite being 74 years old, he had still had so much more life ahead of him. We're back to Daniel again, and he's explaining how hard life is being a single parent to Brian. He works night shift, and I guess that explains why Jay looks after Brian so much during the day. Daniel is grieving, but at the same time, he still needs to be a parent to Brian and be strong for him, doesn't he? It seems
definitely.
like he's not much of a parent here.
No. And he makes the comment of, I never wanted the kids. Diana wanted the kids. And now look at the situation I've been left with.
Yeah, then the filmmaker asked Daniel if Brian is having any special counselling or help, and he says no. But the school has been great, and if Brian wants to talk about it, he will.
That was fucking crazy to me. When the documentary person asked that, I said, well, of course he is. Of course he's in therapy.
Yeah. And he's only 5 years old, but can you imagine the trauma he would have, losing his mum and being part of that, and losing his sisters and his cousins in that accident who were piled on top of him. Horrendous. He should be getting as much help as he can get.
Yeah, it just should have been as soon as possible. Danny should have been getting him into therapy. Fucking Danny.
Yeah. And look, I don't really know what the right thing to do is, but you've got to put your child first, though. And counselling would encourage Brian to talk about it as well. You can't just let him deal with it in his own head. He'll talk about it when he's ready. It's like, no, encourage him to talk about it. And you can't just let it happen organically because he may never want to talk about it and then it gets him later on. Jay has encouraged Brian to talk about the incident, and I think that's more for her than for him, I think. She's trying to understand what happened and she's hoping to get that information from Brian, but all he can really give her is Mummy's head hurt and she couldn't see.
I have tried to poke and prod and things I'm curious, and he said, Mommy's head hurt, she couldn't see. I said, oh, Brian, I said, Mom, Aunt Jay, I told you her head hurt, she couldn't see. And he said, I said, oh, and that's when the crash happened. And he said, and I flew out of the car like Superman. Since he came home from rehab and I started spending my days with him, the story's never changed. Never, ever changed. Mommy's head hurt, she couldn't see.
So we're now back to the timeline. It's 11:37 a.m. and Diane calls Jackie, the mother of her nieces, to tell her that they're running late. I mentioned that earlier. The conversation was normal, though. The girls had a rehearsal for a play that they were in, and they had a quick conversation about getting tickets for the play, and that was basically the end of the conversation. So this is 11:37 a.m., so 2 hours later. So she must have been starting to get into that inebriated state at some point from that phone call. We start hearing from witnesses of Diane's erratic driving on the interstate prior to the accident. It's 12 p.m. now, so only 23 minutes after talking to her sister-in-law Jackie on the phone. A witness by the name of Gerald Salerno sees Diane on the interstate heading south. He was driving and noticed Diane's vehicle approach at high speed to the right of him and then proceed to do a number of sharp lane changes to get around traffic. He explains that Diane's movements were precise and it didn't appear to be someone that was under the influence. Two more witnesses come forward and explain that Diane was tailgating them so close that they were concerned that she was going to smash into them. She's beeping her horn at them, so they pull into a rest stop just off the interstate, and Diane actually follows, but she pulls over in the truck area, and they see her get out of the car, and this is the point where they can see her being sick. They leave the rest stop at 12:30 approximately and notice that Diane is no longer there. And at this point of the documentary, we start to hear from Diane's childhood friends talking about growing up with Diane and what she was like as a person. They explained that Diane, she was one of 4 children, and being the only daughter and her mother leaving early, she took on being the woman of the house, so to speak, and really looked after her dad and 3 brothers, playing that motherly role. They also explained that Diane was a heavy girl when she was younger, and she always struggled to lose weight. She never had any boyfriends, and one of the friends mentioned that when she had her wedding, Diane turned up and she looked amazing. She lost all the weight, and that's at this wedding she meets her husband, Daniel. And they said it was her first love, and it would be her only love up until the day she died.
She had come to my wedding, and that's actually where she had met Danny.
She really never dated while we were younger, and I think because she never really had that companionship growing up, or, and never had a boyfriend or anything. So when she met Danny, she was going to experience everything that, we all had a chance to experience.
That was her first love, and I think she knew that, it was going to be her only love.
We're back to the press conference with Daniel, and the reporters are still grilling him about the events of that day. The discovery of a bottle of Absolute vodka that was found inside the van when the accident happened. But before he gets to answer the question, documentary cuts to an interview with Daniel and Larry King, and he is asked the same question: what's the go with the vodka?
Daniel, how do you explain the vodka?
We usually will keep it in our camper throughout the whole season.
1 bottle.
Why? Why?
You have pina coladas.
Sitting by a campfire,
right,
cooking marshmallows.
What was the vodka bottle doing in a car?
My wife packed all the bags that day in the camper and leaves them by the door. I carry them from the camper to the trucks. I'm very surprised that the vodka bottle was in there. I had no idea.
Larry thinks she's an alcoholic, or something's going on there for sure. I could just see it in his face. He's just like, "Come on, Danny, just fucking open your eyes, mate."
Yeah, he's leaning forward. His shoulders are up to his ears, like he always is.
Yeah.
And look, I'm no drink expert, but I'm pretty sure that you don't put vodka in pina coladas, like Jay had mentioned. Such a weird mix. So Larry King goes on to ask about the vodka, why it was inside the minivan, and Daniel explains that he was surprised that the vodka bottle was inside the van too. But Larry King is not done with Daniel, and he says to him, is it possible that Diane was an alcoholic? Could she have kept that hidden from you? But Daniel said that he had been with her for 13 years. There is no chance that she was an alcoholic. And if she was, I would have known about it.
I don't think you would, Danny. I don't think you're that involved. And alcoholics can hide shit if they want to.
Yeah.
I think Danny's more concerned about his fucking Sunday football games and Supercoach and hanging out with his mate drinking Budweiser lights than fucking doing anything with the kids or the family.
That's true. And you are not on Team Danny at all,
Nah,
are you?
fucking Danny Doolittle.
And it's at this moment Larry King asked Daniel the question of why appear on the show.
Daniel, why appear here? Why keep on doing this?
The truth will come out.
But Larry, you have to understand, Danny doesn't want the other families to think that a drunk driver killed their families. That's why we are out to prove that try to prove that she wasn't drunk.
And now that sort of understand where they're going with this, you can understand that it's that image that we spoke about earlier. They don't want that on their family's name. And it was her fault that these people died because she was intoxicated. There must have been another reason for it. But the Bastardi family don't get Daniel and Jay's motives for this narrative that they're trying to convey.
I've gotten to a point, I forgive Diane Shuler. I pray for her like I pray for my father and my brother and those children.
Right.
The family that's still alive, I'm still working on. Oh, come on, even the lies about the bottle. Oh, well, it's not our bottle. I don't know where she got it. Oh, yeah, we kept the bottle up at the camp. We brought it back and forth. The stories just kept changing. They just kept changing. And like I said, if you just come forward and say, I'm sorry, she made a mistake, you could accept that.
Right.
But to have to keep lying and try to cover up, why? What are you trying to cover up? What happened?
I would say to him, what transpired between you and your wife, right?
That pushed her.
Right, that pushed her. And then I say to him, you know, what's with the denial? You denying this is enabling other people to do the same thing.
I agree with them here. Instead of Daniel coming out and apologizing and being an advocate for change, he goes the other way and just sticks with the denial and just ignores the facts.
Yeah, 100%.
The filmmakers enlist the assistance of Dr. Harold Birdstain. Oh, fucking hell.
I looked at that name in the notes and went, oh, good luck.
I thought of you when I wrote it down. I thought, oh, Chris is going to be loving this.
Because I get all the fucking weird names with the SJKZs. How do you pronounce that?
Oh, mate, this guy, the surname is Bursztajan. Fuck, I got no hope. But he reviewed the police reports and the interview footage in order to come up with a forensic psychiatric autopsy of the case, whatever the fuck that means.
See, what we do is attempt to piece together the state of mind and who the person was at the time of the events in question. People are seeking to preserve her memory. At the same time, they want to find out what actually happened, because it's such a tragedy and such a mystery. And right now, they are constricted. The choices they have is to either accept her as someone who was bad, which they cannot because that she wasn't bad in their relationships with them, or to be able, or they're focusing on some medical event for which there was no evidence on autopsy.
As hard it is to understand his accent, he's making a valid point. They're trying to preserve the memory of Diane in the way that they remembered her and not her actions that day. They just can't accept the reality of the findings.
I think that sums it up perfectly. That's exactly what is happening.
Yeah. We now meet Daniel's parents, Joseph and Irene. They adored Diane, but it's weird they describe their relationship being more like a mother-son type of relationship, and Daniel is her eldest son. She spoiled and mothered him. She made all the decisions and was basically the head of the household. I think a lot of blokes can relate to that, but this seems to be a little bit over the top.
That's because he's fucking useless. She has to do everything.
And he loved Diane. Diane, like I said, made all the decisions, and he was like our oldest boy. Yeah. Diane, she was an amazing woman. She worked her way up. She was an extremely smart woman.
Had her own office, and she's like a boss.
She had her own secretary.
Yeah.
They loved her there. She's got a lot of friends in Cablevision. A lot of friends.
She was very capable.
At the time of her death, Diane was the director of credit, billing and collections at Cablevision, and she was earning approximately $100,000 annually. And we start hearing about how organized she was and how she was this go, go, go. She was this amazing mother. She was selfless. And the way Irene talks about her, you would think she was Wonder Woman. They really describe Diane as the super mum that she never had growing up. You know, everything about the kids was impeccable. Like, they never had a hair out of place. They were so well looked after. So I think they're just trying to portray her again as this perfect mother and wife. Out of nowhere, we see Oprah Winfrey, and she's interviewing a private investigator by the name of Tom Ruskin. He was hired by the Shuler family, and Jay explains how the private investigator always needed more and more money for them to do all this testing, and it's just money they don't have. He tells them that he sort of agrees with them that something doesn't sound right, and it sounds like he's just building up their hopes, meeting their narrative to get more money out of them.
Yeah, I thought this guy was a bit of a con artist.
Yeah, that's how I felt. It sounds like he's trying to get the most out of this, and he's really enjoying the limelight that goes along with it. Like, these interviews, he's talking to fucking Oprah Winfrey. Hey, gotcha, bitch. Ray explains that she's never heard from Tom, and the filmmakers asked Daniel what happened.
And nothing was done. Nothing was done. How do you do that to people?
Have you spoken to Tom Ruskin at all?
No.
What happened there?
Don't know. As soon as we paid him, he disappeared.
The filmmakers say that Tom Ruskin's firm did conduct an investigation which included interviewing Diane's friends and family, canvassing the campground and the route to find leads and obtain video footage from Sunoco Station. And according to Ruskin, all the money was spent on these activities and on lab tests. And if you're questioning, if you think Tom's a piece of shit, your mind's about to be made up, because we hear a phone call between the filmmaker and Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm okay. How you doing?
Good, just a little bit busy. When I was speaking to my people, my agent, my attorney, they said 25,000. Otherwise, it's just not worth your time.
Right. It's just not even in the ballpark of what documentaries,
Hey.
Right.
We wouldn't supply the test results. We would not supply, the pictures and the video. It's not worth us getting it out of archive and out of where we've stored it, running around and spending our time doing that versus working for a client for tens of thousands of dollars a day.
So Tom claims he's making tens of thousands of dollars per day from his clients. Fucking whatever, champ.
No. And he's too busy to get these records for them and all that. It's like, no, we haven't got time for that.
It's a computer file, mate.
Yeah, exactly. And the filmmakers say, well, fuck it, we're not paying anything for these medical records. So they decide to go get it for themselves. Jay and Daniel are going through the medical records that the filmmakers were able to obtain. And this is where we first hear about an issue Diane had with a tooth. Apparently she'd been seen rubbing her jaw consistently in the weeks or months leading up to the incident. So they're trying to piece together what happened to Diane, and they think maybe that the tooth had something to do with it, because when she had gone to the service station, she asked the clerk if they had any Advil or pain relief. They're thinking maybe that's the tooth and that's to blame for the incident. Seems like they're grasping at straws here.
Definitely.
And I hate dentists as much as the next guy, but I would never walk out in the middle of a root canal. I've had a root canal. I know you've had a root canal. And to just walk out in the middle of it, I know they're not pleasant, but her doing that, it's just going to cause her much more grief later.
Yeah.
But this is like a year prior to the incident. So I'm not sure how that can relate to the incident. And it seems like Jay and Daniel are just trying to grasp onto something, like I said, that makes sense. But Jay mentions here that she could look at these records all day, but it would only stir up possible conclusions in her own head. So I think she understands that that's what's happening here.
Yeah, I think she's slowly coming to terms.
We're back to the timeline. It's 12:55 p.m. There's a wrong number dialed from Diane's phone. 1:01 p.m., a 2.5-minute call with her brother Warren ends abruptly, and Warren calls her back. Warren said that she was acting strange, and at one point even called him Danny, and the kids were crying in the background. So at this time, Diane's eldest niece, Emma, she's 8 years old, is on the phone to her mum and she says there's something wrong with Aunt Diane. So apparently she could not see. And this is where Warren had said you should pull over and he's going to get in the car and he's going to come in their direction. But he's coming all the way from Long Island, so it's going to take him a while to get there. At 1:10 p.m., someone dials 3 wrong numbers from Diane's phone. Then at 1:15, Warren tries to reach Diane, but the call goes to voicemail. So apparently Diane had put her phone down where that she had pulled over on the side of the road and she had taken off and left her phone behind. They're not sure why. It's a bit of a mystery. It seems like she's either left it there on purpose or she was being sick and just got back into the car and took off without it. They're not sure.
Yeah, I think by this stage she's very, very drunk. I reckon she would have left it there by mistake. She would have set it there and gone, oh, no, I reckon I can make it. It's fine.
Yeah, nothing is making any sense. Like the route she had taken up to this point was typical of the way she should have gone home. But after this point of getting off at the highway, the reason for that is unknown. The filmmakers arranged to have a DNA test done to match Diane's DNA to the toxicology report. I don't know why they're doing this. I think it's just to appease Daniel and Jay. Yeah. Daniel's seen grabbing clothes out of Diane's closet and he's putting them in these big plastic bags.
So we can match the DNA to my wife.
And if that DNA does match the samples, what will come next?
The medical part, right? That's what I'm waiting for, the medical part of it.
We come to find out more about Diane's medical history. The filmmakers received more records from Diane's dentist. Jay is going through all the dentist records, and they're really starting to believe that this incident was caused by a tooth problem. Diane would never complain about pain. She was very private. She wouldn't talk about personal matters. People were just aware of her having these issues just due to the rubbing of the jaw.
Diane was a very private person. People who knew her said to me over and over again that Diane didn't talk about personal matters. She never articulated feelings about anybody.
They talk about how private she was and that she didn't complain about this jaw pain and all these issues she was having with her teeth. You can sort of see that, yeah, if she was that private, she could have been an alcoholic and no one would have known it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we're back at the timeline again and we hear a 911 call coming through from a family friend of Jackie's. After that phone call with the eldest daughter, Emma, explaining that something was wrong with Aunt Diane, and they're all scared, so they call 911.
Police throughway, Sergeant Temple.
My name is Brad Katsinas. I'm actually trying to help a friend right now. Their children are on their way home from a camping trip with their aunt. They just called my friend's house, distressed, saying that the aunt is driving erratically. They're at a rest center. The best they can understand is that they were in Tarrytown or Sleepy Hollow. Those were the signs that they saw.
Okay.
The aunt isn't picking up the cell phone right now.
You know what kind of car they're in?
Yeah, they're in a minivan. It's red, and it has a ski rack on it. Jackie she's flipping out. She can't remember her license plate number.
Police talk to Jackie and ask her questions regarding Diane's mental health and if she had ever experienced issues with alcohol or drug abuse. And Jackie explains that no, there's nothing in her history that would explain that anything like that is happening right now. So the police are currently treating it as a possible medical episode, but now the issue is finding out where Diane and the minivan is. Police are trying to track where she might be through her phone, but they don't know at this stage. Her phone's been left on the side of the road. We're now hearing from Betty Spratt. She was the woman that we spoke about earlier. She's the director of the toxicology at the initial press conference. She's explaining the amount of alcohol Diane had in her system at the time of her death. And they show an image of a typical soda can, and it's almost full, like of vodka. So it shows that she had 10 ounces or approximately 300 mils of alcohol in her system, which is fucking heaps, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 300 mil, like a typical liquor bottle here is what, 750 mil, something like that. Yeah. So that's almost half a bottle. But her blood alcohol level, as I stated earlier, was 0.19, and they show a graph of what types of effects that would be happening to you at this level. And apparently between 0.11% and 0.20%, the things that would be affected, it would be your reaction time, your gross motor control, you'd be staggering, and you'd have slurred speech. But the level in her gastric content, this was a bit confusing, but her alcohol level was 0.25%, which is even higher. And the chart says that at that level of intoxication, she would have had a loss of understanding, severe motor impairment, loss of consciousness, and even memory blackout. So,
yeah. And the fact that she had marijuana in her system at the same time as well, it just made everything 10 times worse.
Yeah, exactly. And they say that the marijuana is actually exacerbating the symptoms. They go on to explain that this medical mumbo jumbo, and they explain that the ethanol could potentially have increased the absorption of the THC. So the marijuana would have hit her harder than normal due to the alcohol consumption, which I didn't know. So they believe that she could have the marijuana just before getting into the car to drive the kids home, which is hard to believe being that she left so early and was at the campgrounds. And the filmmakers confront Daniel with that.
One thing that they mention in these things about the pot. I mean, what do you make about
That's
that?
not true at all. Not true at all. On a rare occasion, she would, but definitely not that weekend. Absolutely not.
Was it something she used to relax? Was it something she used for stress? Was it something she used for
On an occasion,
fun or...
on an occasion to relax. That's all not true. Everything you hear there is not true.
We're now hearing from witnesses Elaine and Peter Royal. They observed Diane driving in the wrong direction on the off-ramp of the interstate. They're honking their horn, they're flashing their lights, trying to get her attention. She's apparently flailing, and they have to take action to avoid getting into an accident with her, and they drive onto the grass. Diane is now driving south on the northbound lane. She drives 1.7 miles at a high rate of speed, and the 911 call center gets inundated with calls from witnesses.
State Police, 911. State Police, you got northbound Taconic. There's a minivan in the right lane going southbound.
911. Hi, I'm at the Taconic Expressway. We just passed 100 exit 100 feet. There's a car going like 70 miles an hour the wrong direction. 911.
Yeah, you got a guy driving south on a northbound Taconic Parkway. Ooh, Maron, I was in the left lane. Just Pleasantville Road. He's going like a bat out of hell. He should be already on the Spain Parkway right now. It's a minivan.
Oh, Moron, she's going like a bat out of hell out of here. Get out of here.
He's eating spaghetti.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, walk in here.
Walk in here. So the witnesses are saying that she was driving pin straight. So not radically swerving all over the road, just driving straight line, and people were swerving to get out of her way. And they explained it like she was playing chicken with people. And that doesn't sound right, being that she was apparently smashed. Her alcohol level was huge. She had marijuana in her system, and she's driving pin straight. And with what that chart I mentioned earlier, she would have been unconscious almost by this stage at her levels. So It doesn't make sense here at all, does it?
No. Because up to this point, I went, okay, she's got the toothache and she's trying to self-medicate with the vodka. But then for her to be driving so fast the wrong side of the road, pin straight at that speed, and witnesses say that she's got both hands on the steering wheel, she's leaning forward, and she's super focused.
Laser focused.
Yeah.
Yes. So the filmmakers arrange a meeting with a Dr. Werner Splitz. He is one of America's most respected medical examiners, and he's there to answer the Shulers' questions about the autopsy and discuss options for retesting. He says to them that from all appearances, the autopsy was done properly, and based on the findings, it would explain the reasons for the crash. But Jay and Daniel can't accept that.
The autopsy report includes chemical analysis, toxicology, and I reviewed some witness statements and police statements, and I gained the impression that the autopsy was done properly and was done well. So is there anything that would, based on the autopsy, account for this crash? Alcohol and marijuana, if you will.
We obviously don't know much about this, but she would not do this. There's something wrong with this picture. And I don't want her being a poster child for drunk moms, because she would never do that. You tell me my sister does it, my sister who passed away, I tell you yes. She probably was drinking. 100%. But this just wasn't Diane.
As you said, this doctor, he's really, really respected. He's right up there. What was his name? Wiener Spitz or something? Dr. Werner Spitz.
Wiener Spitz.
Close. So you might have seen this guy in a couple of other docos like we have as well, but because he's about 114 years old, he actually worked on the JFK assassination, Martin Luther King, Casey Anthony, Phil Spector, the Jean Benet Ramsey case, and Sister Catherine Selznick. That's from The Keepers.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
this guy, and he works for both prosecution and defense as well. So he's not like, oh yeah, I'm just a paid witness. This guy's really respected, and he just stands by his opinion.
This slut gets around.
Yeah.
And he's really hard to understand. You can sort of get what he's saying. There was one point of the documentary, and because I'm watching on YouTube, there's no fucking subtitles. I could not understand a particular word he was trying to say. I think I rewound it like 10 times, and I had my eyes shut. You know when you shut your eyes and you get your ear close to the TV? I was doing that. Couldn't get it. I don't know what he said. But Daniel asked...
I think it was abscess, wasn't it? He couldn't say abscess.
I heard that word.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't understand. So Daniel asked Dr. Spitz, Wiener Spitz, whether or not the abscess tooth could cause a stroke. And the doctor says that it could, but it cannot explain the level of alcohol in her system. He's really trying to drum that into their heads.
Nothing in the autopsy about a stroke whatsoever.
No, that's right.
It's like on Friends when Joey goes to the doctor and he goes, "Oh, what is it, doctor?" And he goes, "You've got a kidney stone." And he goes, "Or," he goes, "Kidney stone." It's just, it is what it is, you fuckhead.
It is what it is. Yeah. That's the bottom line. But Daniel says that could it be possible that she was having a medical episode and Diane was drinking this vodka thinking it was water? So ridiculous.
Oh, God. Old Spitz is over here rolling his eyes going, fucking get a load of this guy. It's alcohol, mate.
Really was. I felt bad for him because he could see the pain that was coming from Jay and Daniel, and he's just trying to help them out. There's a lot of back and forth here, and it's not exactly going the way that they had hoped. And you can see the doctor is he can tell that he can see that they're in denial about the findings, and he doesn't really know what to tell them. And apart from saying, look, maybe you need to get an independent test done. And they explained that the private investigator we spoke about earlier had sent samples off to be tested previously, but they haven't heard the results. And the decision is made by Daniel and Jay that they're going to exhume Diane's body. And that's a decision that surely is not taken lightly.
No.
Look, it really doesn't make sense, my trying to convince you. You have to have your satisfaction. Your satisfaction is only going to be achieved if you send it to another laboratory to redo it.
So that would be the next step.
That's the only way I know what to tell you.
And then also exhuming. That's the way to go, right?
Yep.
It's very frustrating. People have promised us the world that they were going to find out, get to the bottom of it, retest everything, do this and do that, and nobody has done anything. It's a year and 3 months.
You mean, when you say people, you mean...
Our investigator was supposed to get the samples and send them to another lab to check DNA.
And he didn't do it?
We don't know.
I don't know.
That's what we've been asking for.
There's a moment here after the meeting with Dr. Spitz where Jay is outside the building and she's explaining she's disappointed by what the doctor was saying and that he didn't think the initial autopsy was incorrect. She's smoking a cigarette and says, "Nobody in my family knows I even smoke." And I'm just thinking, what the fuck?
Do you know what irony
how
means,
it's possible
Jay?
Diane was an alcoholic and nobody knew? Fucking hell. So the filmmakers contact Westchester Medical Examiner to arrange for Diane's specimens to be retested, and they were told that they'd already been sent to another lab by the private investigator Tom Ruskin 9 months before. So the Shuler's lawyer, Dominic, contacts the lab and they explain that the results were given to the private investigator 9 months prior, but they wouldn't give any further details about the results. They were paid by the private investigator, and unfortunately, he's not returning any of their calls. There is just so much unknown in this documentary as to the reasons why Diane did what she did. And one of the theories they come up with is that after she had no luck in, getting the drugs at the service station, that she took a high amount of the vodka quickly, thinking that would help with the pain quicker. But it shot up her blood alcohol quicker than she realized. But then she was in a state of delirium. And the definition of delirium for listeners, because I had no idea, is a temporary state of mental confusion resulting from a high fever, intoxication, shock, or other causes, and categorized by anxiety, disorientation, memory impairment, hallucinations, trembling, and or incoherent speech. So it's at this point that the private investigator finally calls Jay back, and we hear the phone call between them.
Hi, Tom. I do appreciate you calling me back.
I'll always call you back.
Yeah, no, I was, I'm just, you know what, Tom, I'm just so upset because I don't know what happened.
With what?
All I know is that when I spoke to Therese, that she said that we needed you to get an approval to say that they can release some things.
Let's put it this way, all right? As I promised Danny, we retested at the beginning of last year, and I devoted my time because there was no additional monies. But I sent the results to them.
To Dominic.
I never even heard back. And I called Danny, you.
Well, I was told not to pick up because at this point they didn't believe that you were doing anything.
So whenever that was trying to give you the results of the test.
I don't know what to do anymore.
Well, we retested the samples, and it came back the same. The toxicology and the autopsy was correct.
But can't you see, how confused I am now?
We'll never know if Diane purposely did this. We'll never know.
Tom, I'm just, spinning around in circles.
And I can understand.
I got one person saying one thing, I got another person saying another thing, and then I do believe that Diane wasn't drinking, and all I want to do is prove that if there is alcohol, what happened to her?
All I can tell you is all tested consistent if Diane had drank and been high that day.
It's just
overwhelming. You tell me. Listen, I've always been straight with you. If you believe me or not, I can't help that.
Tom, that's the whole thing. I've always believed you.
Well, I will tell you one thing further. The DNA was hers.
So what am I supposed to do now, Tom?
You tell me. I mean, I'm returning your call.
I don't know.
I was just a bit shocked here to find out that Tom was trying to call them with the information. But then Jay said, we were told not to answer your phone calls.
Yeah,
it's
just bizarre.
Wait, you were fucking begging for this information before, and now we find out you were avoiding it.
Yeah, it sounds like the right hand's not talking to the left because he's saying he gave the results to their lawyer 9 months prior. But fucking Dominic was saying, no, we didn't hear shit. But at the end of the day, all that really matters is that the toxicology results of the second round of testing were exactly the same as the first round. And Jay is really upset, but she feels like she doesn't know what to believe. I think they were just expecting the results to be different because in their mind, the testing was done incorrectly. I think they felt like this was the holy grail. This second round of testing was going to show something different. They're going to get all the answers, but at the end of the day, it just confirms what had happened. So we're back to the timeline again. It's 1:35 p.m. Tectonic Parkway, northbound mile marker 4.1, and frantic 911 calls are placed.
Hey, police, 911.
Oh my God, bad accident! What road are we on?
What mile marker are you at?
What road are we at? What road is this? Pleasant Road.
What? Hold on, stop yelling.
Oh, so bad.
911.
Listen, I'm an City, New York City police officer.
Okay, are you out at the scene right now?
Yes, I'm at the scene.
Okay, are there any injuries?
No, we have fatalities.
Fatality at the scene?
Yeah, we have
okay, stay on the phone with me. I'm going to give you EMS, okay? Hold on.
Okay. So in ambulance too, we have a possible car fire. Car may blow up as well.
So there's a car fire and a fatality?
Yeah, we have numerous fatalities.
Numerous fatalities?
We have one.
This is at 4.1 northbound Taconic, 60 control. All right.
we get a visual representation of how the crash went down. And it's pretty shocking to see how far the two vehicles separated after impact. Like, just how far they went away from each other was crazy. But what's even crazier is what they show you. Next, you see images of the crash scene. The car is totaled. The fact that their son Brian survived this crash is truly a miracle. And witnesses describe trying to open car doors, and they're breaking into the cars to see if anyone was able to be saved. And it's at this point Diane's body falls out of the car onto their legs. And the documentary shows photos of Diane's body. And it's gruesome, to say the least.
I could not believe they showed those photos.
It's so fucked up. The episode we did last week on the truth and tragedy of Mariah Wilson and how they redacted the CCTV of her screaming and the gunshots.
Yeah.
The documentary filmmakers in this one did not give a fuck about the family.
Yeah.
You see Diane's body. She's laying on her back. Her shirt is all disintegrated, and they show a close-up of her face, which shows one eye open, one eye shut, and she's got injuries to her arms and her face, like gouges. It's fucked up.
It was shocking.
The scene is absolute chaos. There's bits of cars everywhere. There's bodies laying on the ground, and the cars had also caught fire. So the firefighters were also dealing with that. It's at this stage we hear from Chief Firefighter Joseph Legrippo. And he was the one that came across Brian still alive, but he mentions he was in bad shape, so he was taken away to hospital straight away. But one of the witnesses describes the scene, and it's just awful.
I didn't even know he was there, but he was underneath everybody. Thank God he was underneath. Then I went to the top of the hill and I lost it, started crying. And I tried to go help the other fellas that were in those car crash. And they were dead. I felt all their pulses, they were dead. They were one fellow was hanging out of the car.
We're getting towards the end of the documentary, and we're now seeing pictures of the victims. And Jay reads out a letter that was sent from Jackie.
Jackie sent this card to Evan. It says, "Hi, Evan. I miss seeing you, Brian, and your mom and whole family. Warren and I are broken, but you need to go and have a happy life. By doing this, you will show Brian that he can do the same. My life ended July 26, 2009. For whatever reason, my purpose for living was taken. When you have children one day, you will understand you live and breathe for your kids. Warren is having a hard time. All the women in his life have left him, and he won't let me out of his sight. I pray our pain ends soon and I can see my girls. Give Brian a hug and kiss. And know that you are a great person with a lot to give. Love, Jackie."
So her world has just been shattered. Can you imagine? Like, she didn't want to be part of the documentary, which is fair enough. We mentioned that earlier. But she just needed to say in this letter about being there for Brian. I really thought that was good of her to do that letter. And I don't know how much involvement she has with Jay and Daniel and Brian, but I can't imagine it would be much. Since I mentioned at the funeral that Warren talked about, and I thought he might be angry, but I don't think they knew at that stage the toxicology results. So I'm sure it put a huge wedge in the family.
Yeah, surely. So we see text at the end of the documentary, and it says that Danny still wants to conduct a second autopsy, but he's unable to secure the necessary permission to exhume Diana's body.
Diane's body.
I'll redo that again.
Diana.
Without the
Princess Diana.
He wants to dig her up too. He's out of control. So the text at the end of the doco says that Danny still wants to conduct a second autopsy, but he's unable to secure the necessary permission to exhume Diana's body. Also says that Brian continues to go to therapy now.
Oh, thank God.
I know, that's it.
I also thought probably not a bad thing that Daniel hadn't got the necessary permissions to exhume her body. What is he thinking? I mean, that's, like I said, it's not something that should be taken lightly. And even investigators, when they are going through cold cases and they think that exhuming a body might be able to help them solve a case, they still need, like, the hoops they need to jump through to be able to do that. Just a desecration of someone's body, and it's your wife, and you've already got 2 rounds of testing that were done. I don't know what you're going to gain from digging up her body.
Yeah, you've had multiple independent doctors look at it as well, and everyone's saying the same thing. I think for this family, sometimes the truth is right in front of you, but in their eyes, it doesn't seem real. It just doesn't compute for them.
Grief does funny things to people, and it's a bit like gamblers. You got enablers. I think Jay is a bit of an enabler for Daniel. They're in it together, being on the Larry King show and all that bullshit. Just think they need to move on. I mean, it's been 15 years.
Yeah, hopefully they've come to peace with it.
Yeah. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on what happened with Diane?
I'm sort of swaying on the side of she was trying to self-medicate the toothache.
Mm-hmm.
Also, she was a woman that was under a lot of pressure between work and home. She had to do literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was I don't have time for this shit. Like, I'll have to sort it out myself and then just get on with it. Then I think it just got out of hand that she had weed in her system that made the alcohol so much worse. She didn't anticipate that. I don't know. Like, I watched it for the first time going, oh, it's so obvious. It's just that. But then that she was driving so far and so fast down the wrong side of the freeway, and just looked like she was on a mission. I just kept swaying back and forth. I really don't know.
Because people reckon that she committed suicide and this was some sort of way of getting back at Daniel or something. Like there might have been some issues happening that we're not aware of. But I just don't know. Why would she take her nieces with her and her kids? We hear about the kids a lot with like someone's going through a mental health episode and they kill the kids to get back at a partner. But to take her nieces as well, I don't know. I just think I think it was definitely some sort of medical episode, and they just couldn't figure out what it was. But like you said with the tooth thing, for her to be downing that much alcohol in the morning. And if she was in a state of mind where she knew that she was fucked, when she got out the first time and she was vomiting on the side of the road, she would have been coherent enough. If she had the motor skills to be able to get back in the car and drive and not be erratic on the road, surely she was coherent enough then to say, I should not be getting in the car and driving with these kids in the car.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I'm on the fence with this one, just like you. I cannot make my mind up, and the internet's the same. No one can really make their mind up about it. I don't think she was a bad person. I don't think she killed herself along with the kids intentionally, but something fucking happened, and we will never know.
Yeah, and that's the worst part about this whole documentary. We'll just never know.
Fucking hate not having closure, man. Why did I pick this one?
I know.
Why do I do it to myself? But look, what did you think of the documentary overall?
I found it frustrating. I mean, it was good. It held my interest the entire time. Again, it was like an old documentary, whereas like fucking the extreme close-ups are just next level. They just get right up into people's grill, and with Diane's body as well. Like fucking hell, just give us some space. I just found it frustrating. The whole denial.
Yeah, I found it frustrating too. But that was pretty much the documentary in the nutshell. Wasn't so much about the incident itself. It was, like I said at the start, it was the aftermath of it and the grief and the denial of the family. That was the whole documentary, really.
Yeah.
I couldn't make sense of it, like we mentioned.
Yeah. I like my docos finished, wrapped up with a tight little bow at the end. And this one just didn't. So
no.
Left me feeling unsatisfied.
Bit lucky, missus. So, what are we doing next week?
Well, next week, I'm really excited about, actually.
Okay.
So, we're taking on our first serial killer case.
Yeah. I'm pumped for this too. And it's hard to find a serial killer case that is in one episode, and we've managed to find one.
Yeah. This guy, he stuck with me for a long time after seeing this and reading so much about this guy. This story, it's deeply disturbing from start to finish, and this one is called Memories of a Murder, the Nielsen Tapes. And this one's about British serial killer Dennis Nielsen.
My name is Dennis Nielsen.
On the journey to the police station, I was asked,
are we talking about one body or two?
I immediately replied, 15 or 16.
I was an inwardly troubled boy, and nobody seemed to notice.
Nielsen went round swooping up vulnerable young men.
Well, we've all got to die of something, haven't we?
Normally, in a murder case, you'll have a victim. Then you will go looking for the murderer. In this case, we had a murderer, but he didn't know who the victims were. At one stage, there was no room under the floorboards. There were so many bodies there.
It would have been absolutely horrendous for these young men.
I remember. I am demonic, demonic, demonic. I am strong and weak. It is a tale beyond comprehension. The time is coming. I am the harbinger of death. I remember. It is a great hurt to be considered to be monstrous. I am not a monster. I am a man. Awkward, isn't it?
I couldn't stop myself.
So we're done and dusted. Another documentary done, mate. I'm really looking forward to getting into this one. I don't know a hell of a lot about it, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. I do enjoy a good serial killer, so...
Oh, so do I. They're my favourite.
Yeah. But I guess until next time, try not to murder anyone.
You too, mate. All right. Love ya.
You too, mate. Bye.